Oh dear.
Really, I want to do a compression test on this engine.
Is it worth finding out the bad news though? Because it starts up pretty good.
It does. I mean, once you get the initial startup going, it runs fine, but I'm seeing some stuff on the engine that's really kind of concerning me. For instance, over at the PCV, there's an oil stain around the PCV. I can understand an oil stain over there on the breather a little bit, but that one makes me worried that we're getting blow by. And it may be enough blow by that that's where our problem is with the oil leaks on the engine.
Positive crankcase pressure.
Which is not what you're looking for at all. Because that PCV should be pulling
negative pressure.
Negative pressure. Yeah. And we're getting positive pressure. I'm positive because of what I'm seeing. So what we're talking about today is why I'm doing this to myself, I don't know, because we already have one F350 without an engine, with an engine on a crate, something going on with that over at his place. I am not even touching that thing. But it makes me feel like, you know, this thing's starting to feel like it may be a little bit tired. It's using a lot of gasoline. It's burning some oil. So I want to do a compression check today and talk to you guys a little bit about what that can be and what it can entail and what can be happening in your little engine world today.
What can be wrong with your engine world today?
I don't know. All right, well, Cam's over there pulling the plugs out of this thing because let's face it, I'm not really going to sit here and show you guys how to pull plugs out. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I want to talk about what you're going to need to do this. And what you're going to need is a compression tester, much like the one I'm showing you right here. This is one I got down at the local auto parts store. You can get them from places like Harbor Freight where they have a really cool blow molded box, but it's a 20-minute drive for me in either direction to go to Harbor Freight right now. I didn't want to go that far this morning because I was being lazy, so I went down and I bought this one. I'll find something to put it in. So what we're going to do though is we're going to go in and test all the cylinders for compression, but Cam's going to tell you a couple of tips and tricks you might want to keep up with when you're doing this kind of thing, okay? Okay.
All right, so I've gone ahead and pulled all the spark plugs out of the engine. Whenever you're doing a compression test, you want to go ahead and pull all the plugs. You have to so the engine can spin freely. We noticed a couple of things with the plugs. We have a few that are getting raw fuel. This is not rich. This is actually straight raw gas. This truck kind of sits, and we know that we have a carb issue with it dripping a little bit and boiling. But while you're here, you want to check everything out on your ignition system. Like I noticed a spark plug wire that was cut. Make sure that you take pictures of your plug wires if they are routed a special way. I did because I did custom cuts on these, so they got to cross in the right spots and all that stuff. But these plugs, they're reusable. We got a couple that are lean. These ones can all be cleaned up. We're probably not going to reuse these. We're probably going to cut the threads off of these and do an episode on actually talking about spark plugs and how to read them. There's a whole book on how to read spark plugs, and I'm not exactly the man to do it, but I will try. But so we are going to go ahead and move forward with the compression test. These holes, that one might have low compression. The amount of raw fuel and just sludge on it is kind of telling me that there might be a ignition issue on there. But all the other ones are good. Even the one that had a cut spark plug wire, I think it was this cylinder, that's firing fine. Like I said, a few of them are lean. These ones look rich, but they're not that bad. All right, and these are pulled out as the order of they came out, so just marked it with a quick utility blade for front and then cut holes in it. So these are all like they came out, so you can set them down, know where your problem is. All right, let's see if I can make his day bad. All right, so we got our compression gauge set up on cylinder 1. Jeff is inside the car. Coil is disconnected, so we're going ahead and crank it over. The way I like to do compression tests is 3 cycles of it. So get 3 readings on the compression gauge, average them together, and then do that for all the cylinders. And also you need to hold the carburetor wide open throttle. So go ahead and put your foot on the floor and crank her. All right, so we are right at 150. So I'm going to mark that with pencil so I can do math and not mark it by page. Release the pressure, go ahead. Found your starter problem.
What is it?
Either the starter's loose or the cable is, because something just blew sparks. Okay, keep cranking.
Okay.
Just needs a little bit more. All right, so that hit collar 151. All right, we'll go one more time. Hit it. All right, 150 again. So that obviously averages to about 150. So we will move on to the next cylinder.
Now, whenever you're doing this kind of stuff, another test that you can do is actually a test for cylinder leak down. And we don't have that tester here. We're not going to worry about that right now, but if you're having a problem and you don't know whether it's a problem with possibly rings or valves, a cylinder leak down tester can help you figure some of that kind of stuff out. But be forewarned, it's a little more expensive than a regular compression tester. You're looking at spending about 85 bucks on a leak down. So, there you go.
All right, go ahead and crank it.
Sounds like the horn.
So that one's hitting at one, yeah, I'd say 160.
Well, that's outside of spec. Now, spec on these 390s is anywhere between 116 and 155. This one's hitting on 160 on the first turn. We're going to see what we get with the next set.
Crank it. Put that at 165.
Whoa, it's going up.
This will go up as the engine heats up, even just from slight cranking. Go ahead and hit again. Right at 160 again. All right. So that one's right at 120. So that one's definitely lower. All right, crank it again. Say 130. Once more.
You want me to do about 5 of those cranks per? Seems about right.
Yeah. All right, hit it. $150. Again. $150. Hit it. All right, 150. All right, so we're going to throw this battery on a charger and move to the other side after it gets some voltage back. All right, so we have gone through and done a compression test on all 8 cylinders. We have one cylinder that is a little bit low. Cylinder 3 is averaging at about 130 psi. I don't like more than 10% difference in all the cylinders. All the others are about 150, 160. So I'm going to put some oil in number 3 and see if the compression jumps up. If the compression jumps up, more than likely the compression is getting lost through the rings or around the piston. If it doesn't, more than likely it's coming out of valves or some other unsightly place. So I've just got a squirt bottle of some engine oil here. The little thumb squirter one's a little bit better, so you can get the same amount in each cylinder if you're wanting to do each cylinder. We're only going to do number 3, so you just put a squeeze of oil, not douse it, because you will hydrolock it up. So, and I think that got down the cylinder. Going to thread my gauge back in. All right, so just going to go ahead and crank it over, see if we get any better numbers. And we did. All right, so we are right at about 170 psi on that cylinder now. So we definitely have an issue more than likely with the rings or the cylinder walls. At 130 psi, I'm not really sure if we want to tear into this engine because at idle, once it's warmed up, you really can't even feel it anyway. But there is definitely some loss of compression there that we need to figure out. Well, I'm going to go ruin Jeff's day now. Well, here's the bad news.
That's actually not bad news. I mean, I feel like I'm in a lineup. That's the only suspect cylinder. I was honestly figuring there would be more than one.
Yes, with the unknown age, unknown mileage, I was expecting about 120 psi out of all of them.
Yeah, and we're looking at, these are actually within range of everything that Ford ran. Because we said when we started up, 155 is tops, but you were saying that...
Yeah, more compression, we really don't know what this engine's been built. We don't know.
We know anything about it. When this is literally what we got when we bought it. So.
The only time you really don't like compression is when you run low octane gas.
True. And this thing will run on low octane gas, but some of the compression numbers I'm seeing here are kind of indicative of that maybe not being a great idea. So 170 wet.
Yep. So we definitely, I don't want to say definitely, but more than likely have a piston ring that's just weak.
Right, because if it was a valve, it wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it wouldn't have jetted up as much.
Right.
You might get a little bit more if oil gets up into the seat, but it's still not going to...
Well, especially not on that kind of an engine. It's probably a flat top piston. You're looking at a machine chamber that's pretty big comparatively. So, I mean, what you would do in a case like this is I would probably go in, like you and I were saying, on this engine, it's really not that bad to drop the pan on the trucks.
Yeah.
You pop the pan off the engine, you pop that particular...
If you don't want to go into the engine and rebuild everything, which is my habit of doing, which just snowballs every thing on the truck.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can pop one piston out, do rings on it, maybe dingle ball hone it. I'm really hesitant to do that with the crankshaft in it.
I don't like the idea of that. I mean, if a buddy of mine was telling me that that's what we should do in a case like that, if we needed to dingle ball hone it, I would rather try putting a new set of rings in it.
As long as the crosshatch is okay on that cylinder, we don't have to dingle ball hone it.
Right.
But if the crosshatch is gone, you definitely need to.
I just on those engines, especially the FEs, because the crank sits up inside the skirt.
Yeah.
A lot. So you're dealing with something that's a lot more trouble to mess with. And by the time you get through, you're going to have to go in and wet everything down. You're going to have to go in and do, spray cleaner all over everything. I don't know. I just don't know if it's worth it for one cylinder.
Yeah. And especially because when it gets up to temperature, it's running really good, but that is going to continually decline.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you wonder what's going on with that one cylinder. Why is that one cylinder a problem? I'm almost tempted to get our little borescope that we've got floating around here somewhere and throw that down the throat of it with the piston at the top or the bottom.
Yeah, see the cylinder wall. If you got a scratch, you probably got a broke piston ring.
Yeah, probably. So you're full of bad news. So really that's it. I mean, that's all I really wanted to get done today is I wanted to see where we were at because I wanted to know if we needed to just go in and completely start from scratch, put a brand new engine in it, or did we want to try to work with what we've got? And looking at that, I'm really more tempted to work with what we've got because one cylinder, we could probably go in and fix that one cylinder and not be a problem. This is not a race engine. Yeah. It's a towing engine. That's why we bought this truck, is to tow things. We've never towed a bloody thing with it.
Bought it to tow. We never towed with it. In fact, didn't we take the hitch off of it? Yeah, because it was horrible.
Off of it. Because it sucked. Yeah. It was bad. But the reason we're standing here at the wall, this is the wall in our new studio space. This is not how this is going to end up looking. The brown strips that are on the wall here, they're not going to stay that color. We're going to paint everything behind us a gray in this family that's back here. So that's a thing that we're going to be doing down the road a little bit. For right now, and I mean like a very short little bit, we're going to be doing this. We have to have everything done by the 23rd because we're doing an open house. Now, if you're in our area, let me know you're coming because we have room for about 50 to 100 cars, probably not even 100 cars. I would say we're probably maxed at 50. And we're in a neighborhood area, so you're going to be parking on my grass. So just understand you let us know. If you are planning on coming, email me. The email address is below me right here. And let me know you're thinking about coming because I can tell you whether or not we're going to be able to support you being able to be here on our grounds because Space is not unlimited, and it's not limited, because we are at 4 acres here, but there's, you know, buildings and other stuff. And we are residential. So let caution be your guide. If you're interested in coming, let us know. Speaking of coming, why won't you join us and subscribe to the channel? You guys have a dirty mind. It's terrible in this place. A bunch of teenagers. It's like being an American Pie or something like that.
Whoa, 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 it's not like
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Subscribe to the channel.
Wrong show.
Subscribe to the channel. You'll help us get to our 100,000, whatever the Sam Hill. We're trying to get the plaque, blah, blah, blah. Paul's Wall. We'll have our little OSB up here pretty soon with the little Paul's Wall in the middle. We're going to put the plaque right in the middle of that. So, you know, Cam was teasing about maybe we should just go ahead and put some OSB wallpaper up
After painting.
after we paint it. Just for Paul. So please subscribe to the channel. We enjoy having you guys here. It's a lot of fun interacting with y'all in the comments below. Please leave some comments down there. The more comments that we get put in down there, the better it helps us in the rankings, and we get to do more stuff and show you more things. Also, check out the Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me on Zoom. A bunch of us get together. We're having a meeting. Well, you won't see it because it'll already have happened by the time this goes up. But we have meetings once a month where we get together, have a ball. It's a lot of fun. We also do monthly tech stuff in video. We're starting to put more things up on the actual Patreon account because Andrew realizes that he needs to be able to make money, and that's how I told him he's getting paid, is Patreon. So he's in charge of that now. And suddenly, his interest level in Patreon has just absolutely spiked. So do me a favor, folks. Be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Autorestomod. Oh my God. A complete and total loss of control of this show.
You do realize this video will be demonetized.
Maybe if we just put a beep there. Just beep it. But it's not saying anything bad. It's the way you juberheads took it and ran with it into the ditch.
Have a great week. We'll see you next time on.
Bye.
Cut.